Yes,
Hi,
there she is.
Erika.
Hi, Beena.
There she is. There she is. Miss, just glorious sunshine. Brilliant. Hello, 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 Erica Jayne. Hello, hello, hello. So good to see the radiance.
Oh,
I
yes.
am actually. This is very pertinent.
Mm.
Radiance. Man, that's some drink going on there. Oh, it froze while you were drinking. I thought, dang, you're drinking really long. Fantastic, fantastic. Erica, talking about radiance, I'm actually reading a story. And remember, I was remonstrating a little bit against the wheel of time, yes, and I was lamenting, since you have to put up with. Well, fortunately, I'm now reading a story, a series that has more sensible heroes. It's forget the name of the series now, but it's one of the series and Sanderson,
Okay.
the co-author
Yeah.
of. He didn't just he wrote the entire last one, but he co-authored I think 13 and 12 and 11, which I didn't realize until a
Yeah.
few days ago.
Well, from what I understand, when Robert Jordan realized that he wasn't going to make it to the end, he told
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson how he wanted the story to end.
I didn't, but
Yeah.
I mean, I did actually a co-author. He sort of, but that's good. He did a good job. So, what's that?
That's what I would say was he Robert Jordan said this is how the story to end, and in order for you to get an understanding of like how I write so that it doesn't sound like a completely different book, I want
Yeah.
us to work together on the last few so that it
Brilliant,
comes together and it sounds cohesive.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Um, so you were looking so radiant, and the book that I'm currently reading is called Words of Radiance. Words of Radiance,
Interesting.
and yeah, and characters in the book, um, or a group, not characters, but the Knights Radiant are part of the book. So yeah. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Trying to find the name of the series, but what I was just telling Beena about. So first of all, the important thing to me was that uh, in my view about, I feel this product of that I put so much uh, energy and attention onto that it brought about a series that does have what I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty cool. What is the name of the series now? He's got a lot of books out,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got the book up here. Normally they show you the series, but now when I need to see it, I don't see it, which is just amazing. Uh, Normally you and it, but anyway, in the series, the two main characters, both are impeccable in their own ways. One of them has a major bias and a prejudice against the ruling classes, in this case, the guys. For reason, he's really betrayed by them, thinks they're all hypocrites, and so forth. But he's making fundamental flawed logical error that simply because most things are a certain way, all things are that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it's still it's impeccable. But it's called the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, right? 4 books in the series so far,
Okay.
and they're very long. I mean, like this book 2 is to listen to is 48 hours.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love long stories. The first one, I really enjoyed the story, and there's a lot of different stuff in it. some similarities to a Wheel of Time, but back, in a copying way. It's just genre, It's cool, really cool. Anyway, fun that you don't see like naive Nineveh idiocy. Sorry.
No.
And all of that you spoke about, right? So the main character, one of the main characters is a high lord, and he's the brother of the king, and anyway, but he's really an impeccable character. And some of the other high lords think of him really as being self-righteous, and he says like, well, I don't mean to be, but I guess I am, kind of thing. But it's and now his task, he's got to unite all the nations and bring them into this code of old, long time ago code, and which is essentially a basic prescription for impeccability, right? And now, okay, it's put in relative to the military, and it's a very militaristic story and society and all this. But like, don't get drunk on duty and stuff like that. In part of the code. But underneath is this idea of impeccability and moving away, and treating people like humans, and not just wasting your soldiers because they just nobodies or slaves or whatever. So now is to bring this logic into the entire nation and unite them all, different princes and all that. So it makes for, right, to write a story about actually changing the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the problems that you would have, and this is what the story is, the thread of the story. I mean, there are other sub stories and powers and stuff, but very cool. It's just different to see it from this point of view, where somebody says, look, these princes, they're into vanity and superiority and jockeying for position, but I've got to get them to work together because the coming desolation. And so he has, the main character has visions. Now, it's maybe a spoiler, I don't know, but I don't know if you care about spoilers, do you?
It's fine.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, so he has these visions and he doesn't know where they're coming from. But then, he says, "Who are you talking to me?" And he realizes the person can't hear him. They're just sharing the visions, and whoever's talking in the vision says, "I don't even know who you are and who's listening." Maybe anyway. In the end, it says, "I'm God and I'm dead." This is really interesting. Like, wow, that was kind of a nice, surprise. And I enjoy being surprised, and every now and then he throws in really cool surprises,
I like,
which was also part of very nice. So I really enjoying this. It's a little different. So,
I like it.
so you know what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of days, listening to story. Yeah, just immersed in it. All right, never mind about me. I was watching some videos, our videos, to title them, because I got a bit behind on the titling with the slow computers. I'm back on the main computer now, by the way,
Mm.
which is I'm very happy about. Anyway, yes. So you're seeing, back in the old anyway.
Good.
Um, but I was watching some of them and I said, man, I was watching the ones where you were a little tired and I was just jabbering away like a monkey. And I said, no, I gotta listen to Erica. I'm not listening to me anymore. So
No, it's
I
all good.
was like, but I realized that I repeat things that are obvious.
But yeah, but I think that's good. I think that's a
It
good.
is. It is good because they're important points. But I'm like, so Erica gets this. She understands this. She's even said it first, and you just saying the same thing that she's saying now. Shut up, the bloody hell. She knows what the hell you're saying. She even came up with this idea, and you like saying it back to her like seriously, dude, come on. But yeah, it's my way of owning it and making it my own.
I
It's a repeat back mechanism.
appreciate that. But I do. I think I am. I really love the concept from Way of Impeccability of repeat backs and
Yeah,
the idea that even if you're saying the exact same thing back to the person, if
yes,
you're saying it in your own way, not
yes,
only is it helpful for you,
exactly,
sure
exactly.
that right, but it also helps the original person to kind of hear it said
Yes,
in a different way.
yes, yes,
So I
yes,
I get
absolutely. Right. So for me, there's a trick that I do that's very important. And when if you are nobilia, when you see the veteran, I call them the veteran new nobles. I don't know why veteran. I don't want to call them the older new nobles, so I call them veterans.
Right. I like it.
In the war against unawareness, they're veteran.
Okay.
Um, when they listen, and the same thing happens, and even between themselves, the key is to unhook from the ego that says, "But I already said this." What
Right.
the hell does it make, right? And and it's like also to say, yeah, but you're not acknowledging that I said. You're saying this as if it was your idea. This is what I'm wanting you to do. Because if you really heard, capital H, heard what I said, and you're applying, making it your own, and sharing it back, and all the things that all the underlying principles, it's going to come as if it was your original idea, and this is what you want.
Right.
So I, whatever I say or you say, and then it gets, I listen with a different ear. I listen also as if I'm hearing it for the first time. Whether I just said it 2 minutes ago or not makes no difference,
Yeah.
because now I'm re-evaluating it again completely with a fresh brain, and this is very, very, very useful and very powerful. And before we go any further, Beena, I don't know if you got a chance to say hello. I was jumping in there and jabbering, but Beena's here too. So
I did.
Beena,
Yeah.
As we said, and when you were saying that you were gibberish, okay, it was not actually, but remember when you were telling me about that they were doing some research that how dogs actually communicate, and it was only what
yes,
what,
scientists
and
finally
me and Sil were
translate.
actually doing this.
Yes, yes. So it's a cartoon that says at the bottom, scientists finally succeed in translating dog barks into words. And
Okay.
then you see the picture behind, all the dogs running around with a little speech bubble. And in the speech bubbles, it just says, what.
Oh, I like it.
I love that. I love that. It stays with me forever. You know, it just comes up all the time. I never get tired of that. I never get tired of it.
And actually, me and Sil were having the same thing because okay, it was some miscommunication, and we both were saying what, and Sil says it's our own way of barking.
Yes.
Oh, no. Uh,
Sometimes it happens,
But
and we enjoy that.
but it did also make me aware of how much I enjoy listening to what you have to say.
wow. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a
You-
very big deal. I mean, it's truly a joy. You know, it's not, you know, sometimes you got to work to listen to people because they jump and they jumbled and they don't know, there's no passion in it. There's no meaning. There's no value. They just, it's like, I'm basically just filtering, and that's, trying to actually put the thing like a jigsaw puzzle of words. And it's just, but it's a joy. All right. So on that note, tell me what's going on. Did you get a chance to paint?
I feel like there's been so much going on. I did get a,
Yes,
I,
yes. I'm listening. I'm listening. Beena, you listening too?
Yes, I'm here.
I did get a chance to paint, which was exciting. I have not been able to get any of my art supplies out for quite a while, and I had decided last week that I really wanted to get something out. I've been wanting to do a dandelion painting for forever and just hadn't done it. So I've that your timing was quite impeccable on that one.
Yes.
So I did
So later on, remind me to go over art as part of way of impeccability and brain training, etc. Just I want to share some stuff with you on art. Okay.
Yes.
um, so yeah, this one is different. I originally drew a sort of concept pre-painting of another one of my sort of children's characters, like a dandelion as a children's character, and then I started painting it, and it morphed into something else completely, which is apt to happen when you're painting. Or
Yes.
so it
Yes.
was,
Beena, does this ever
Yes.
happen to you? Does this ever happen?
Oh, yeah, always. Almost always.
I know I've said that before, but like truly, when I sit
It's
down to
genius.
draw,
Brilliant. Yeah.
I'm just like along for the ride. I never know where it's going to end up, and I'm always surprised at the end of it, whatever's come out of it. So,
Yes. When I write, it's the same thing for me. Where I start, it's going to end. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. hang on, I gotta pin you. Beena, are you pinning? Are you pinning?
Yes.
So this is my dandelion painting. And I don't know if you can
This
see
is
the
so cute.
little seeds, but
Wow.
Holy moly! Oh,
what came out?
yeah.
Oh, the lights.
Oh, yes,
There we go.
yes.
It,
Yeah. Okay,
okay,
so
this
what I'm enjoying here, before you tell us anything, I want to share why I love it so.
Okay.
First of all, I love the fact that the stem and the base are so concrete. Yes.
Yeah.
So they are like, man, this is a very earth connected thing. However, the rest of the dandelion isn't. It is completely energized spirit, energy, feel, moreness. Plus, I love the way the dandelion. Okay, you've got the two magical ones over there. I don't know, up there. Look like magic ones with them. Yeah, oh, there's three of them, right? But to
Oh,
me, they look like magic ones that are in use, right?
I like.
Like yeah, like well, they could be like cattle prods too, but they're magic ones, right? They're magical ones. Actually, the magic is coming out of them. That's what it looks like from here. When you showed me closer, it looked more like the dandelion, right? But from here, it looks like a, because there's a handle on it, and then this like spark energy coming out of it, right? So it's like somebody's being prodded with it, and they're getting magicified, right? But but those, I'm saying, what I was trying to say is, despite the fact that you have the seeds floating out there,
Mhm.
what I love is that the flower itself, dandelioness itself, is merging and flowing into the cosmos, the ether. This is what the absolute just magical potency is the unity of spirit and magic and moreness and awesome.
I
Yeah.
agree. That is my favorite part of it as well. And that was completely unintentional. It just happened that way.
Yes,
And when I
yes.
got done with it, I was like, wow, that would turn out really cool.
This is
It was not intentional.
intent of it. This is the intent of it, the feel of it. Yes, the feel, the feel, the feel.
It looks like to me, it looks like that's where the sunset is coming from. It's like coming from the dandelion and it's sort of like merging into the dandelion, which was not what I was intending, but it came out. I mean, so
Yeah.
much about this was not, I just started and all of these cool things ended up happening that were not like consciously deliberate, but they ended up being really cool.
Yeah, hold the photo just there, right there. Don't move it, don't move it, don't move it. Right.
beautiful.
So,
So beautiful.
Beena, note to
Yes.
self. If you want to take 10, 15, 20 years off, hold the photo next to you, they're really close, and zoom in, and then you just look much younger. Doesn't Erica look so much younger right now? It's just too fascinating to me. It's incredible.
This
It
is
really is just remarkable. But anyway, just a side note. Okay, so please continue. And I'm keen to hear what Beena gets from this too.
this is so beautiful because the first thing that the vibe is so like happy and joy, and you feel that, and this is why you suddenly fall in love with something because the immediate vibe is so pleasant and so positive. The second thing, as still mentioned, that it is actually diluting and just like okay, completely losing itself and becoming more. This is the exact thing, losing itself completely and becoming more. This is the thing, and also that is still retaining its individuality right there, that it is there. You see that it is losing itself, and you cannot say that okay it's there, but it is still there, which is so yes, things happen miraculously sometimes, especially when things, and again I can share from my experience that yes, sometimes consciously we say that okay it was not in my plan, but it just happened. It just didn't happen, it was in your subconscious, and you were not aware of it, but this is how it comes. So it's so beautiful, so beautiful. It has some lyrical quality into that. I don't know why, but it feels like.
Yes, that's a perfect word for it, a lyrical quality. Now, I mean, you have the dandelions that are fully flowered at the bottom there, right? I mean, we don't see them very clearly here now. Yeah,
Little
but they're there.
Yes,
But the
but there's so
flower that you are showing, which is very few focus on the flower, they always focus on the seed. Yeah.
Right.
The fruit of it, actually, not the flower part. And this is really cool, that because the flower is a magical thing too, so. And also the other part of it is, if that stem was not so concrete, right? I mean, if you take that out and just fill in the background and replace it, right? Or in the same style and have it be kind of vague and fuzzy, the whole painting would be too vague and fuzzy to grab.
Right.
And it would be too nebulous, and it would be just, your mind kind of dismisses it. But because of that realness, and the realness moving into moreness, the concreteness, this is absolutely symbolically, for me, totally fabulous.
Wow, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Because it's one thing to show something that's nebulous, but I'm saying, well, I'm not nebulous. I'm real, but I have that connectivity, and this is the point. There's a moreness flow connectivity, and that's just too fabulous.
Yeah, Beena, I love what you said about it's retaining its identity but becoming more. I love that. And
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly what I mean. We are
Yeah.
enough, and we are also more. This is the painting. Yeah, it's just too fabulous.
I love it. Well, thank you. This was a really
And
So
one
is it
other
okay?
thing would be
I mean,
like
how did you get out of school
losing.
today, by the way?
Sorry.
Oh, never mind. No. I was just saying, how did you get out of school today? Aren't you playing truant? I'm just too fascinated by this. Sorry, carry on. Doesn't ignore me.
Oh no, I was just saying that one other thing about this is that, like, okay, this might be like losing yourself, conceptions or something which you created from some external mind conditioning, and coming to your core, which is okay, obviously very true in this thing. So yes, losing yourself, but what was not meant to be, and what meant to be is there, and it is very concrete, very solid in its feel. So actually, no matter how, but you were able to actually capture very, very precise moment. So brilliant,
that.
brilliant.
and
Yes.
and it's a painting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a painting. Yes. I mean, we
Oh,
speak a lot about when is it a drawing and when is it a painting. This is
Right. And
no
it's
doubt
so
about
funny that you say that because I was telling Joe that I really wanted to do a dandelion painting, and that I, like, last week I was saying I really want to sit down and paint. And I said I'm going to try to do it this weekend. And he came home. I finished this yesterday. And he came home and he said, "Oh, did you get your painting done?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And I pulled it out and he looked at it and he goes, "That's like a real painting."
Yes, Joe. Yes. Okay, you get a few smacks for, that's not what you're supposed to
come
say
on,
as a husband.
come on. This is not good, because you know what, my drawings or paintings, whatever. So in the beginning, when I was doing that, I was just saying that, okay, because I was using oil pastels and pencil chalk, so I was calling it painting. But someone actually mentioned that slash drawing, whatever you are calling it, slash drawing. And I was super embarrassed by that. That okay, oh, I was calling it. But I asked Cyril, who is conducting this course, and
A
I said, okay, I'm just going.
world-renowned painter. Yeah.
Yes,
And he said, no, it's a painting. No, it's a painting. Yeah.
it's a
Oh, there's
painting.
more. There's
And
more,
then,
Beena.
so that's
No,
why we
there's
have a
more.
debate.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I agree.
yes.
Wow.
So it's a painting, officially painting, Erika, and it looks like painting too. It feels like painting too.
But it's not only that the painting has moreness and significance. That to me, yes, we know the story, and we know that there's a lot in the whole dandelion, all of this, but it's also beautiful.
Mm.
It is inherently beautiful, purely without
Yes.
somebody having any clue about the moreness meanings of it and all this. It's
Yes.
just
Yes.
purely visually beautiful. Also, there's inherent balance and integrity built into the
Absolutely.
item.
Yes.
What I mean by integrity is visual integrity. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So when you see caricatures, they're completely distorted. They look nothing like a head can look, political cartoon caricatures, right? I mean, they
Right.
make the nose outrageously big, but they never lopsided or imbalanced. There's an integrity to those drawings. Yes, there's
Right.
a balance to them, no matter how distorted. And that's important. That's important in drawings. And this is what you see primarily in amateur drawings. They don't have that innate ability to maintain the integrity and the balance of things. Right. And this is very cool. Now, balance comes in many ways. Balance isn't just evenness and all of this, right? It's not symmetrical necessarily. So balance is very important in art, because if you had symmetrical art, well, okay, you can get it, and like Escher, but even there, but this is for the most part, you don't have that. So this, when you look at art in that point, it's very important. Plus, the focalness of, even though you have a very strong in the center and that pulls your eye to the green, it's not the focal point of the painting.
True. Yeah.
Right? So, and that's tricky to achieve, because you need that. But the actual focal part is something that is non-focused for the eye.
Yeah.
So you succeed in getting your attention, your moreness, to connect to the spiritual part of that painting, not the physical part, right? Which is where the focus really is, correct?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So you succeeded in that. Plus, you have that support of the dandelions at the bottom, which adds credibility, credence, substance, depth. You could have left it with just a single one, but that adds, and it's very subtle, which is very important. So yeah, just job well done. Just awesome. It's magical. Yeah. I am amazed at how you and Beena and Cheryl and Sher are all artists. I don't mean that you have ability. No, you are artists. It's fascinating to me. It's just there. It's just incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. So this is a big deal. It's a big deal. And it's a finished painting.
Yes.
See, this is very important. Now, if you were looking at some of Sher's drawings, I call them paintings, even though they're done with pencil, right? And she's colored them in, and they're not finished yet. And she knows they're not finished yet. And I said to her, don't finish them now. Come back and do it later, because she's in a productivity, creativity mode. I said, get them out, ride this wave as wild energy to do this. The finishing is just time and energy. You can do this anytime. You don't need the motivational energy to finish, correct?
Yeah.
So, but you can see how they're not finished yet. But you have this, and it's finished. It's complete. It's ready to frame. And I would absolutely do recommend you put this.
Absolutely. That is part of my
Yeah.
plan.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Good. I see a great big open wall behind you there.
Yes, we have a lot of open walls.
All right. Good. I hope that you fill them all with Erica art.
Wow.
All right. So share with us the process that went through, how it came about. Is there more to share before we go on to this?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've had all kinds of things going on, but they're all sort of interrelated in some way to all
Oh,
of
okay. All right. We're listening. It's story time, Beena. It's story time. The popcorn. The
Yes.
popcorn.
it. So I mean, I wanted to do a painting to go with my dandelion poem that I had written. And so that was part of what this was about, was, being related to that concept, which that poem I named Independence of Being. And that's one of the reasons I love so much what both of you were saying about the concept of becoming more, or recognizing your moreness while also sort of maintaining your own independence of being, because that to me was a big part of what my poem was about. So I went back and and was kind of, getting into that of what I wanted to get across. And I started out with the drawing of a sort of children's character version of a dandelion. And I was intending to paint that. It had the same sort of face that the moon in my other painting had. And so I was intending to paint that. And then it just kind of morphed, and I found, so I was looking up, so I started out, it just amazes me. So one, I will say one thing that I think really helped me with this painting in particular was what I was sharing with you guys last week, I think, about um, the Big Magic book by Elizabeth Gilbert that I was reading, and her concept of ideas being
Yes.
something that are
Yes.
you, it's not your job to create the idea, it's just your job to be the conduit for the idea.
Yes, exactly. The things come through us, not from us.
Exactly. So that I was really thinking about that going into this, and I think that really helped with just being open to sort of whatever came. And I got this idea. I don't, I have no explanation of how exactly this popped into my head, but I got this idea I was going to do a sort of halo around the dandelion. When I was going to have it be a sort of cartoon, I was going to do the dandelion in the middle and then this sort of ring around it of just empty space. And,
Wow.
and then the sky behind that. And I was looking up. So, well, okay, see, and it's amazing to me how your ideas like morph through along this whole process.
Yes, yes.
So originally, I was gonna do this halo, and the first thing that popped into my head, because literally every picture that, like, if you Google search dandelion, every image that pops up is this beautiful bright yellow flower against a bright blue sky. I mean, it's gorgeous. I understand why that's.
Cliched. It's cliched.
But yeah, I mean, that's like literally every photo that you find is going to be that. And so I was thinking, was it Elizabeth Gilbert, or it might have been, I'm reading multiple books at the same time and they're all like running together.
We also discussed it in detail, yeah.
Yeah, which is appropriate that they're all running together because they all fit together really well. But in one of the books I'm reading, I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert, or it might have been, I've also listened to her give an interview that was really amazing, and it might have been that. She was talking about when you're looking at something, try looking at the negative space behind it and around it. So basically, interpret the thing by looking at all of the places that it's not.
Yeah, not doing.
Yeah, and sort of, look at everything that butts up to the thing and think about, sort of identifying the object by everything that's around it rather than looking directly at the thing. And so I thought, I got this idea of, well, okay, that would be interesting if I had this sort of empty space around the dandelion, and then I had the sky in the background. And then I started thinking about how I was going to paint the sky. And the first thing that popped into my head was one of my favorite paintings by Manka Kasha, who is the artist that I think Beena found with the girl.
Yes.
It looked like Frauke, I think, the girl with the yellow sundress or whatever. So she has
Yes.
So she has this picture that I just adore, and she is the queen of painting really cool skies. She does incredible skies. And she has this picture. I'm going to find it.
It fascinates me how that character looks so much like Franca.
She has this picture. I adore this painting, and I come back to it a lot. There we go. So it's her little character, and she's in a bed in a field, and she's got a little cup of tea, and she's just like gazing at the sky.
Yes.
And I thought, that like image popped in my head, and I thought, I want to do that sky. That's the sky I want. I don't want to do a blue sky. I want to do that.
Brilliant.
So
for me, you did a better job.
Well, I appreciate it.
I don't mean to have a comparison, but your version of that is definitely more beautiful to me personally. Sorry.
I appreciate it.
Sorry, Manka, but I do feel that.
Total experiment. And so I Googled, I still had this idea of doing the circle around it, and I was trying to figure out how to do that.
All right.
So I Googled watercolor halo. And the first video that popped up was this woman showing this technique, which was not at all what I had had in mind, but it was, you know, technically this halo technique. And I thought, wow, I really like that. That's really cool. I'm going to give it. So I kind of tried my concept again. And that was where I wound up with, and I mean, that was how this interesting feature of the dandelion blending into the sky happened. The way they do this technique, get the paid totally wet, and then you like blot the general of what you're getting ready to do.
Yes.
And this just kind of blah, 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 and it sort of starts to spread out. And I did the same for the stem, so that's why there's like this sort of green halo behind the stem. And then I just started painting the sky and having it all kind of blend together. And this was a total, like, I was not even intending to do that. And it just started coming together. And as it started drying, I was like, wow, that's not even what I had in mind, but that is like exactly what needed to happen, you know? So this whole exercise, I think one of the big things about this painting for me that was really, the experience of it was really cool, was putting into practice the concept of being a conduit,
Being a what?
being a conduit for an idea.
Yes.
You know, I started doing things with an intent, with a specific intent, and the idea just came to be. You know, the idea came to be, and I don't claim credit for the idea. You know, I just responsible for the mechanics of it, and it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a cool.
Yeah. By the way, also that stem, the way you've drawn that stem or painted that stem, it says here is something important.
Mm-hmm.
That stem cues. It's a very cueing stem. Really cool. Really, really cool.
I like it. So
Magic.
it was a really interesting process, and that's one of the things I love about art, is experimenting with new techniques, experimenting with new medium, because you don't know, right? You have no idea how it's going to come out, and so you kind of have to be open to just seeing things. And it was really fun.
And this is what I wanted to share about the art. Okay, so Beena and I, we got involved with this before the program already, just in terms of Beena had drawn long ago and written long ago, and it sort of went away, and to come back into it and connect back into it. So it's a long-standing thing that we've been going on. And somewhere in Way of Impeccable, somewhere in something, I have about memorable events and significant experiences, and how to connect to them and extract moreness from them. And part of that process is the immersion and allowing the moreness to come, and realizing that there is a moreness that you weren't aware of, even though you remember it, right? And it's the same process that now it's applied to writing and memories, but it's the same process of art and artistry, and opening up, setting aside your preconceptions, your beliefs, your ideas, and letting stuff come, letting it flow, letting it come through you. Here's the key, though. So in Sher's case, with Sher, there's 101 reasons I recommended this, but it's something that, like an outside sort of that came. And one of the key reasons I recommended to her, and let me just say how I recommended to her, because this is very important. First of all, draw or paint when you have a strong feeling,
Mm.
strong emotion, feeling, that's it. Then you go and paint. Yes. So this is very important because in Sher's case, the reasons for it, but in anybody else's case, it's the communication and sharing of feeling, of mood, of energy. This is what the deal is about. But I said, okay, so first of all, when you're feeling strongly, fine. Secondly, the focus is a being that's fantastical, different, non-normal. Of feel yourself doing something that's you change it.
Mhm.
Does like in your case now, okay, you draw the green there. No, draw purple, draw spotted. Do it differently in some way or other, right? And the risk is that with her focus, and look, her first paintings now, it's the recent ones have changed because she's drawing the bio questions, which is, so it's gone a little bit more normal, but I hope she'll get back to the fantastical ones. The point and purpose for this was to get the brain to retrain and break free from its conventional thinking. Yeah. So, shoulds and conventional thinking, even though Sher's not a particularly conventional thinking, they have a great hold on her in particular ways. So when you do this, you're training the brain to be different, and you're getting visual confirmation that you can, and there is moreness. You can be different. It is okay. And it starts to break the hold of habits of thinking. And that's why that is such a powerful, powerful exercise. Now, of course, it needs immersion. And I was mentioning to you, I don't think you have necessarily the time to be able to do this with that level of immersiveness. Nonetheless, it's a good exercise to paint something that's completely unfamiliar and different and unusual. And it's very refreshing. And there's all sorts of benefits for it. Plus, when you're drawing emotion and emotionality, like in Sher's case, now Sher's, sorry, Sher, that I'm using as example here, but she's a really excellent study for this in terms of like all the conditions of things. When with Sher's as a child and as an in her early adult years, she was absolutely conditioned in a very literal, negative, physical conditioned way to not express emotion, right? When you're in abusive situations, not just to express emotion, but to express anything at all. With an abusive father like that, she can't talk about it. She can't say anything. So everything is the pressure on her is to repress. And when you, like later with her husband and people she was in, you know, um, any emotion you show, any newness, you get physically abused for it. So you learn to be suppressive, repressed, and absolutely neutral, and don't draw attention to yourself, don't do anything, right? So
Right.
this is a major brain training. So part of the logic of when you feel strongly, don't repress it, but express it. It's now doing the very opposite again. Plus, it legitimizes those feelings to say they can be expressed. And this is a really potent thing. And of course, now you're starting to change it. Now, there's something else that happens, right? For most people, especially when they have really strong emotions, like Cheryl, which I mean, Cheryl has her emotions are, she feels them so strongly. It's like a superpower, almost literally. Right? She's really strong in the way she feels emotions. But if you get caught up in the emotion itself, and you have a dualism, monoism, or monistic
Right. Right.
view, it's just the emotion.
Mm.
Then you get lost in it. Then you get into that bubble, and that's when it takes you over, and it causes all sorts of problems, and it runs away with you. It's like I was saying to Cheryl yesterday, like in the superhero movies, when they have the powers, and you always see in the early days when they're teenagers, right, and they go to the superhero school, right? They have that same thing where they can't control their powers,
Mhm.
and they get caught up in it, and it runs away with them, and then they end up, they got firepower, and they end up burning the building down, kind of stuff like this. Well, emotion the same way. But when you paint that emotion, the act of painting is creating a separate program in your brain to observe the expression of the emotion. So you are now automatically, through the act of painting or writing, you are developing an editor, a viewer, a secondary perspective. And you put, just because you've now got two, you're putting a bit of distance between, right? And because you're expressing it and putting it into the painting, it's not burning you, you're not consuming you, it's somewhat contained. And you now get the ability to feel your emotion, because you want to keep feeling it. This is the point. You're feeling it and you're communicating. You're putting all that passion into your painting, right? All that feeling into your painting. But now you also have that the discernment viewer, which when you're not painting, when you're feeling the emotions, you can do the same thing to say, I'm feeling this, but I'm not going to make it my own. I'm not going to get caught up in it. I'm not going to get consumed in it. You have the ability to choose whether you want to immerse or not. And this is ridiculously powerful. Like I was telling Beena earlier today, I was just sort of feeling the idiocy of the world. And, I was like, man, it's just like, a bit depressing. But I don't have to take it in. I'm just feeling it. It's separate to me. It's two different things. How I take it to me, it's out there. And this is part of the painting process. It develops that ability automatically. Now, when you don't not aware of it, you might not learn to use it as a tool. But in our focus here, it makes a difference, right? So there's lots of benefit. There's many more, but this is just part of it. And of course, this access to moreness outside of ourselves, to unhook from logic and rationality as the only mechanism. Yes, they are part of it, but they're part of a greater whole. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I look forward to a fantasy piece from you. Yeah, I mean, it's something that has no usualness to it.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the typical fantasy, but whatever you're drawing. And part of the other thing that I said is paint your energy. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is also encouraging direct perception, because to me, and in your painting there is a representation of energy, and a particular type of an energy. There's a spiritness to it, and also that elusive, effusive, inevitability of it. Yes, of the energy and the moreness. There's moreness there, but it's a very gentle, graceful moreness. Yeah, I mean, dandelions have a particular energy to them. No,
They do. It's true.
particular energy, and you captured that in the sky. That's what I'm saying. Your sky is phenomenal, because it's not just a sky and pictures like in Monkas. That's just sky.
Right.
Yours is energy and mood and feeling. There's the moreness there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're clearly representing the entire feeling and of Dandelion, and the attitude, the mindset, the moreness, the awareness, the discernment, the understanding, the sophistication of it. It's all in that. Very cool. Very, very cool. Very, very awesome. Yeah. Lovely, 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 lovely. Magical stuff. So there's a lot to this, when you utilize it in a different way. And, when you apply wave impeccability, like I said, things like balance and integrity applied visually is very important. Yeah. And feel and mood, without feeling our stuff, it's pointless. That's the end of the day. Whatever we are doing is directed towards the purpose of feeling, like we said, with joy. That's the end game. Well, there you go. Your painting represents joy. So joy doesn't have to only come from positive, by the way.
Right. Well, that's been a huge theme that's been happening for me lately.
All right. So 1 second before we go to this, I want to show something really quickly here. That is, if my mouse decides to stop having the jitters, it just, the cursor jumps about, and then I can't be precise and dragging things and doing whatever. Like, seriously. I want to say beauty is a very particular and peculiar and unusual thing. We tend to have preconceptions about the beauty, and they tend to be very limited and not particularly accurate.
I agree.
Right. Okay, so let me bring this up, zoom it in, get it. Yeah, okay, and then let me do switch here. Okay, Beena, are you paying attention? Beena?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you've already done this exercise. Now it's Erica's turn. So just observe. Be natural.
Oh, there we go.
You froze right at the critical moment. So what was your first reaction here?
Well, it just now popped up for me. So, um, my first reaction is like chaos.
Yeah. Emotional. What's your emotional feeling?
Confusion. You know what this reminds me of is what my brain feels like sometimes when I'm having like ADHD.
Interesting.
Well,
Okay. I mean it more not in terms of what the painting is saying, but how you react to it. Like when I first showed this to Beena, Beena had a little laugh that came out of her. And when my very first reaction to it, when I saw it, made me laugh also, but a laughter of joy, because I took the energy in and I was feeling good, and it took my energy more. It just amplified my current energy. So it made me laugh more. And the reason I'm sharing this is because there's so much energy in this. And yes, you can get involved in the frustration. This is a frustration painting, and all this anger and all that. But I don't have to feel negative about it. I can get joy out of the painting.
right.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, that it kind of adds to us, even though it's negative, because there's a particular energy, and that's what art is. It's that energy that comes through. It doesn't matter positive, negative in its origin, makes no difference. For me, it's energy, and it adds to whatever I'm feeling. Yes, if I'm going to be feeling in a bad mood, it's going to make it worse. But generally, if you're looking at art, you're sort of in a positive space, so it adds, it amplifies. It amplifies. And this is what I was trying to get Sher to do, is really put her energy into the paper, into the painting. Yeah, and it comes through. You can really feel this is the most feeling infused painting that she's done so far. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, with just doodles while she was sitting on the phone with the IRS, and I said, make it into a painting. Yeah. It's a painting. Anyway, so I just want to make the point about energy. This is the point. And beauty. That beauty isn't necessarily pretty. I mean, there's nothing pretty about this, correct? But
Right.
it's still beautiful in its own unusual way, right? So
Yeah.
very important, this distinction from an art, understanding, appreciation, discernment point of view, yes?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's amazing. It's really amazing how beauty is really something else. I mean, beauty is energy, really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah. What adds to us? Anything that adds to us makes us more as beauty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. Very powerful. All right. So continue with the story of all the stuff that was going on.
Okay, so let's see. Um, well, on that subject,
Before you continue, I just wanted to recap quickly on why I was doing a digression here on the art in this particular case, right? It's part of way of impeccability moreness that we can changing the brain, reshaping patterns, habits, all of this stuff. It's a very powerful mechanism, very powerful tool. Yes, perspective shifting, in other words, yeah, and connecting to moreness.
yeah.
Very cool, very cool. All right.
So
Oh,
yeah, there's all kinds of different things. I think directly related to what you were just talking about with beauty and beauty not necessarily being, or beauty and joy not necessarily being positive,
yes.
sort of a balanced thing. I started, I've got like five
Yeah.
books going that I'm listening to right now in the midst of, I always try to listen when I'm getting ready or, when I'm at the gym or something.
Yeah.
I'm doing a terrible job of of like multitasking because everything I'm reading, I'm stopping every 5 seconds to like take notes and do takeaways. And so I'm doing a horrible job of like actually multitasking. But I've so I've added another book into the queue because I'd reserved it in Libby
Mm,
and it
mm.
became available, so I needed to jump on it. So, I've added it to the 15 other ones I'm reading, but oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. So it's called Bittersweet. It's by Susan Cain, and she was I heard about it through Brene. Brene interviewed her for her podcast, and they were talking
Oh,
about the book. So I had an idea of what the book was about, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm not really even that far in, and I just love it already. But the so far, I would say the book has been about the necessity, at least for some people, not necessarily for everybody, but for some people, the necessity of melancholy and of sadness as part of
yeah,
our, and not only just from a balance perspective of, sort of balancing out the whole, but that they serve a purpose
yeah,
we have not necessarily been traditionally told that they serve.
yeah.
And she makes these really compelling, um, she brings all of this different information together from all these different sources, that talk about sadness, longing, um, sort of homesickness, like all these different feelings that for me, the translation of what she's really saying is these things are a direct gateway to moreness.
Yes, yes, yes.
And rather than seeing them as a negative thing that should be avoided, to really embrace it from a perspective of the purpose, like making sense of it. Why would this exist? Why would this feeling exist? Why would I feel this way? And she talks about she talks a lot about what we were talking about with Gertie and the beauty associated with that experience. I mean, she talks about that exact,
Duty or service.
yeah, she talks about that exact concept. Um, and she, one of the things I was listening to this morning that was just absolutely fascinating to me, in part because I have never heard another person describe this exact thing that I have felt in such specificity. I mean, it was
Oh,
like,
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
so mom and I both have talked about this feeling that we both have had. And I have felt this for as long as I can remember, but couldn't really articulate what exactly I was feeling until certainly post Way of Impeccability. And described it to her when we've talked about it. And I think it's fascinating that she and and one of the really interesting things about reading this section of the book today was that I think Susan Cain is arguing that we really all feel it. We just can't articulate it. We don't,
Exactly.
we attribute it to other things that make more sense rather than being able to kind of get to the heart of it. But the
Exactly.
idea is, for me, the way I've described it to mom is I have this feeling that the closest thing to it, I would say, is a homesickness, but
Mm.
it's for a home that I can't describe.
Yes, yes. It's homesickness for Nobelia. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it is. And it's like longing for this home that I couldn't tell you what it is. It's like the faintest memory of a memory or some dream that I can't remember anymore, it's there. I can tell you it's there. I can tell you what the feeling feels like, but I couldn't tell you what the thing is that I'm longing for. I just know that it feels like I want to go home, but I don't know what that home is. And it's the strangest feeling, but I feel it often and I have really always felt it. And so she talks about that in like very specific detail, which is fascinating to me. And her, she has said, throughout her life, as she has spoken to other people that have described a similar concept, that really, like what you just said, it's a longing for nobilia that in many different religions, in many different philosophies, for many different very disparate groups of people and individuals, what it really comes down to is, this is my description of, or my takeaway, as she didn't say it exactly this way, but my takeaway of it is, I think what she's saying is that we are longing for a recognition or a remembrance of our like divinity, of our moreness,
Yes, yes,
our oneness with the universe, with God, with whatever, and that we we tend to attribute that because that's such a vague thing, and because it's something that we can't necessarily, I mean, you just know that you're longing for something.
yeah,
You don't really know for what. Um,
yeah,
we end up spending our lives chasing after things to fill that longing, whether it's friendship,
yes,
love from our family, like, you know,
yeah,
relationships, things, lifestyles, whatever. We're trying to fill this longing, and that really, and I mean, again, this is me. She has not said this yet, but for me, my takeaway of it is that what we're longing for something that cannot be fulfilled by anything in
yes,
this world.
yeah, yes,
And
yes,
so we spend all this time and energy doing that and sort of becoming attached to things that don't, we never fulfill that particular need. And just the recognition that that feeling that we're feeling and the attachments that we think we may have is really coming from something else. And if you
yes,
can direct your attention and your intent and your energy toward the real source of that, that's what is going to get you moving forward. But she talks about basically the idea that longing is not a bad thing. It's okay to be in a state of longing, especially if it's one where you're longing for,
moreness.
yeah, for your own moreness, for connectivity to bigger moreness, that's okay. That's kind of the point. And I started thinking this morning about that sort of fitting into my understanding and conception of life, and of how much that makes sense, that if we are here to learn to come to awareness on our own,
Yes,
it makes total sense that we would not remember our own divinity. I mean, we if we did, if we came into the world knowing that and understanding that, we would not be reaching these
correct, correct.
on our own. So it makes total sense that we would forget that, but it also
We
makes
have to forget it. Yeah,
sense that we would be imbued with this sense of longing
yes,
because if
yes,
we didn't have that, what that's like our beacon.
yes,
It is what is
yes,
pointing us home. And that serves a really obvious purpose to me of
Yes.
what we're doing here. And again, makes sense how death fits into the picture as a motivator, that
Exactly.
if we
Exactly.
have this sense of longing, this sense that there's something more, a sense of wanting to go home, that's great. But then when we realize that we have a time clock, then we become more invested in seeking that out, in understanding, in trying to find ways to, seek glimpses of that thing. So that was really interesting. I've my brain has been going around and around on that concept this morning.
Wow. Wow. I have a lot to share for you on this.
Okay.
But
Well,
remind me when you're ready.
so it fits into, for me, this larger theme of letting go. And that was, Beena, one of the really interesting things for me that you said about the painting was the concept of letting go of the things that no longer fit for you, of these sort of old beliefs of yourself, and stepping into your moreness. That has been a big thing that's been on the top of my mind. And one of the other things that I have been thinking about so much that tied into this in a really interesting way. I had this sort of existential crisis for a day last week. I think it was on Friday, of just feeling the overwhelm of not having a specific direction of what I'm doing with life, having a lot of things to get done that I feel like I'm just kind of spinning my wheels. I'm not making progress. Just constantly having all of these things kind of in the back of my mind of, I need to do this. I've got to get this done. And what about this? And I need to figure this out. And I haven't done that. And blah, 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 blah. And just, I was starting to just feel all of these things weighing on me and going, oh my God. And I was listening to the interview of Liz Gilbert, and something that she said, which, as an aside, this was another really interesting, like, one of the things I love about Way of Impeccability, that I have seen so clearly as a really positive application for me, is being able to take something and name a deeper part of it that
Yes.
that might not have actually had anything to do with what the original speaker was talking about.
Exactly.
Mourners, in other words.
Like, this connection happens for me, and I go, oh wait. And that has been such a powerful application for me. I mean, that has made it makes everything hold
Yes.
potential for moreness. And so I'm listening to this interview. The interview itself was incredible. I mean, she said so many amazing things, and it was awesome. But something that I don't think she necessarily was directly talking about, but that just like majorly jumped into my mind as a connection while I'm having this, sort of existential crisis, was like, one of the things I keep thinking about is all the things that I need to get done. This house, I am so far behind on getting things done in the house, cleaning things up, just staying on top of the maintenance of the house. It's way too big for us. There's just too much to do. And there's, everywhere I look, I'm like, oh my God, I need to do that. I haven't finished this. I haven't done that. And so Liz Gilbert is talking, and she's kind of talking about attachment and letting go of being inappropriately attached to things and to outcomes. And this concept popped into my head of the perfection of now, and made me realize, if I am staking my okayness, like my being okay and everything being okay and my being good and in a good place, on some future event happening, it's never going to be enough. Like once that is achieved, if it ever is, then it's going to be the next thing. Okay, great, that was done, but now I'm not going to be okay until I get this thing done or until this happens. Rather than working to see how all of this, the mess, all of the unfinished projects, everything is perfect right now.
Yes.
Change my focus to the perfection of now rather than the perfection of some point in the future. And that was like this gigantic weight off of my shoulders. I snapped out of it. I've recovered, I'm okay. I have overcome the overwhelm. But all of this stuff, I mean, I feel like all of these things have just been swirling around this general theme of letting go of old concepts of self, letting go of attachments, letting go of um, misconceptions of over responsibility. I mean, so many different things have been swirling around, but yeah, there's just
Wow.
there's lots and lots and lots of stuff, kind of all circling around each other. But yeah,
Wow, I love this. I absolutely love this. Oh, really? Can't be right. Oh. Why is it not coming now? Why is your search not working now?
uh-oh.
Something is happening, or okay, yes, you're doing something, yes.
Well, I wanted to pull up some quotes from the book, The Perfection of Now.
Ah,
But I don't think I have them in here attributed to that. Oh, well.
Oh.
Uh,
What you shared, Erica, 2 weeks back, I guess. I'm not sure exactly when you were sharing something from the book you were reading, and during the takeaway you were sharing with us, and of course with Sil, and I shared with Sil that I was like amazed by that when you were doing your takeaway on that book, and during that, while saying that, you realized that oh, this was not what the author was saying in that book. Oh,
right.
this is something I understand, and that realization was so huge, of course, for all of us. It happens all the time with me, but the more you were so spontaneously, you realize that no, this was, yes, I was reading that, and during reading I was just taking it because it becomes so innate to us to extract value and to just make connections, like rapid connections, like da 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 da. That's it. Okay, we understand more than what they are actually clearly saying. That maybe their intent is there, but not in their words exactly. And you realize that while sharing, and you said, not exactly. Okay, so yes, I was getting it, and that was so huge for me. And I shared with Sil, and I said, this is exactly like we need to pay attention, because what I got from this episode, what I'm getting and what I will get, is not entirely from that course. No, it's very okay. I think it's fair to say that it's vague. So many times I feel that, oh, they need to say more about this. They need to have more clarity. They need to do this, blah blah blah. But but I'm getting, because I do have my mind. I already have my mind trained and tuned to extract value and make connections.
Right.
The connectivity is a huge deal. I always emphasize on that, and still actually did that in the beginning with me. He was referring to that picture in the background, always saying that, and that was so huge in my whole growth, and it still is, because we all have these things like, oh yes, I do have this understanding about this thing, but it was not clear.
Right.
We get something very precise, a sentence, a phrase from someone, and suddenly you're like, oh yes, so it was there, but the connectivity was not vital at the time. So now it becomes, and all the neurons in your brain fires up because of that.
Yeah.
So that is something, yes, I absolutely agree with you, because now when I see or read anything, I do get value more than what they are actually saying.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's so fascinating. Sil and I can't remember whether you were on the phone the day that we were talking about, um, I was saying to Sil that I feel like Way of Impeccability is a, I forget what we ended up calling it. I think, Sil, you said something like the universal translator, but it's like,
Or the language conceptuality.
yeah, but I think you were saying it was like, what did you say? Like the translator ring or something, you know?
Oh, yeah. Universal translator. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's like Way of Impeccability is this language for me of being able to
Yeah.
take things that other people are saying when they're using their own vocabulary and to
Yeah.
translate it into this is what this means in
Yes.
my understanding. And it helps
Yes.
if you just took what the person was saying off the cuff in their own vocabulary and you didn't have a previous understanding of related conceptions or conceptions that are actually the same thing but just called something else, you might miss a lot of the deeper points that the person was.
Yes.
But when you can listen and go, oh, they used this word, but the way they're describing it, I understand that to also be this in my understanding. And I already have all of these understandings of that concept. I can take this word that they're saying and I can apply it to all of these related concepts that I already understand. It's like it expands it so much. And I think that's so true. I've experienced the same thing that you're talking about, Beena, with not only does it help you do that and really extract the moreness of what they are saying, but it also helps you make connections that they may not have been deliberately.
Yes.
But you have this understanding and you're going, oh, wait, blah, blah, blah. And all these pieces start.
Yes, exactly.
It's so
Exactly.
fascinating. It's such a fascinating thing.
Yes, absolutely. And it is happening in this EPIS group. And I was like, okay, oh, so sometimes the term Jung used to use, and of course they are still using that because this course is more focused on that. And and I was like, okay, because of that language, I just wondered in my head, like, okay, what they're trying to say. And then and after like whole lot of effort and hours of just banging my head over it, and then oh, so this is what they were trying to say.
Right.
Just the precise, exact, impeccable term for that.
Yeah.
And you go merry around, like running around, around, and like,
All the pieces start fitting together.
and
Yeah.
sometimes insist on, no, there must be something very complex, because they were spending their whole life into it, and now like not only that person but all the other thousands and I don't know, millions of people is still following him. They must have this thing, because it's a huge deal to accept this idea that they were just sharing the very simple concept.
Right.
It's hard because it is going to ruin so many people's whole world idea of whole world.
Mm.
Like it is going to be a collapse,
Right.
because they are spending their whole life and trying to describe something which is like duh for us.
Right.
I was scared to say that, oh, it's too big for me to say something like this, too big for me to say. But for at least for my understanding, I can share with Sil that sometimes I resist to Sil that. Sil was saying like, Beena, this is what he's saying. Like whole huge article about this thing or a book or chapters. And then he said this thing. And I was like, no, I want to read this because there must be something.
Right.
There must be nothing into it. Otherwise, who is gonna spend his whole life just for this? But it's just my lack of understanding, or you can say that precise understanding, or understanding of what way of impeccability has given to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just take it a bit for granted into that.
Yeah.
Because of that, we take for granted ourselves also,
Right.
because we are different now. We are
Yeah.
different. For like, okay, no, no. We challenge authors. Okay, not verbally, not physically, but of course we do that. Like, okay, what you are saying is not fitting in.
Right.
It is connection sometimes, and we do that. Same happened with me when I was reading Siddhartha.
Mm,
Okay, I was irritated for some other reasons, but the second time when I read that, I was like, seriously. But to say that, it's a huge deal. You are going to like evoke all sort of opposition towards you. Like, who are you to say this thing?
yeah.
Because it's a classic now.
Well, and okay, it's funny because that reminds me something I was thinking the other day. It was something that came from one of the myriad of things I've been reading. Um, was the concept that really all of us, I mean, throughout history, throughout recorded human history, if you really break down what all of the philosophers, all of the poets, all of the writers, all of the artists, all of these people, all the creators, what
Yes.
everybody is saying is really just a rehashing of the same basic concepts over and over and over and over. It's just that
Yeah.
everybody is saying it in their own way or from a slightly different perspective. So really, not none of us are really like coming up with new ideas per se.
Looking for resonance.
We're really just presenting the information in a unique way through our own unique filter. And that's not unvaluable, right? Like it's valuable to present it in a different way because it can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like it helps it hearing it in just a slightly different way might help someone get it in a way that they hadn't been able to before. But
Resonance. Resonance.
yeah, but I laugh a lot at that concept that, these lofty
Yeah.
many worded things that you think like, oh my God, that really so many of them boil down to something that has been said a million times before and is going to be said a million times again. And you're like, really, this isn't a new concept or anything earth shattering. It's just a different way of saying something that's already been said. And
And it's that ability to conceptualize that makes all the difference.
right. But
They lack that so often, yes?
that's true. That's true. But I do think, I mean, I really resonate with the idea that just because it's something that's already been said doesn't mean it's not valuable. It's
Exactly.
still
Yeah,
valuable.
exactly.
Yes.
Who cares?
It
Who
is.
cares?
And,
Ah, ah. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, just that, and I think that helps me as someone who wants to create, wants to, put things out, that wants to practice elucidating things, expressing things. It helps me take the pressure off of myself. Again, going back to that idea of just being the conduit. It's not my job to like create some brand new thing. Everything already exists. All of the ideas already exist. So it's not my job to come up with something new. It's okay.
Exactly.
What I'm expressing, saying, drawing, creating, whatever already has been said, already exists. I can still say it in my own way, put it out into the world through my own expression, and it's still valuable. And that has helped me a lot, I think, with taking the pressure off of myself.
Huge,
Yes. Yes.
huge, big deal. All right. So, in your longing, beautiful share about longing. Yesterday, I was going on about longing, right, Beena?
Really?
Oh yeah, it's in the exercise, the current exercise, the part that we're on. You have to write it, and longing came into it. So, but I'm not going to go into that. I was basically having a bit of an anti-reaction to longing.
Mm,
I'll explain why in a moment, right? All right. So now let's go back into this longing and let's go to the origin story. Yes, the one right with the angel and the angel coming down from heaven and all this. So this in the origin story, the angels are metaphor, obviously. Yes. Now, when I wrote that story, there was a lot of reverse engineering involved.
Okay.
in terms of taking people's behavior and reverse engineering it to make sense.
Okay.
In the greater context of where everything makes sense. You would imagine in heaven, things make sense.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So heaven is an idealized version of where things make sense. There might
Right.
be, yeah, you might remove some of the things that don't make sense in the immediate and the intermediate, because you don't want to go through those stages, and you just get the end point of it, right? So it's sanitized to some degree. But so the story has multiple layers to it, which is why it's an origin story.
Okay.
Because, yes, in this case, we are using the metaphor of angels in heaven. But when you say this from a different perspective, use those as abstract conceptualities, we are coming from a state of being where things are ideal yet sanitized, and there's a lack of deliberateness and focus and so on, and that's missing. And so we come into a state of being where we want to acquire this and maintain the old and have both coexist at the same time. So the longing is for the old heaven.
Right.
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 So I'm just going to basically say, okay, so Beata finishes the story, and I don't know how much you remember the story in detail, but afterwards there's the takeaways, and some of the people in the audience, they stand up, right? And the first two, AB and Luminia in particular, if you listen to their stories, their sharings, there's that longing is absolutely front and center there. They don't speak of it, but it's maybe in an indirect way. I forget, maybe even directly. I don't remember the detail of it. But the longing is very, very front and center there. Now, Biala doesn't address it specifically. But let's say now, okay, so Jayne stands up and says, yeah, but Biala, what about the longing that we feel? How do we address this? Are we longing to go back to old heaven? And Biala says, yes, in a way, but that's not what the new nobility is about. It's not going back to old heaven.
Right.
The idea of the new nobility and way of impeccability, A plus, whatever, the underlying philosophy or intent of what we are about is to take all of our tools and be able to make real that longing and to have it be here now.
Right. Right.
Because this is very, very important. As the young man was fond of saying, every now and then he would use his middle sister as an example of her longing for Christmas. And she would always try and emulate a Christmas that she had when she was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic, spectacular Christmas. And she kept trying to bring this back, and she never could, because of course she couldn't go back to being 3, 4 year old. And so it was an artificial thing that she tried to generate. So we have to understand the nature of longing is to romanticize and to square circularize our memories, our experiences. Yes. So part of longing has a square circleness to it, that you can imagine it, you can envisage it, you can even feel it, but you can't actually apply it and have it for real. Yes. So not always with longing, but like in the case of my sister with Christmas, this was a square circle notion. She was trying to have something come about that just wasn't going to, and she kept trying over and over again every year, right? All throughout when we grew up. It's quite amazing. And she never got it. I tried to explain it to her, no, it didn't matter. So we have to be careful with longing, because longing, we just extract the best and we lose the reality of that.
Right.
However, our ideal in terms of the Mourners Project is precisely to develop the awareness to see the ideal, the perfection, the heaven now, here.
Right.
And that's the point of that story. Yes, it's focused on how we perceive others. When we see them as angels coming here for the purpose of learning to be perfect in imperfect circumstances, now we start to see the end point of the longing is to get to that, where we can say, whoa, wait a minute, I can actually learn to be impeccable or perfect in imperfect circumstances. And through this also, when I bring in the grand conception of make sense, and I see that I am in an ideal world. It's just contextual. It's ideal for learning, for awareness, and that doesn't make it any less perfect. The beauty is there. It's up to me to connect to it.
Well, and I think, I mean, that was the big thing that I was taking out of Susan Cain's book so far, is that she's kind of talking about a differentiation between like little L longing and capital
Ah,
longing.
okay. Brilliant. Brilliant.
L longing is that attachment sort of longing of, I wish that things were this way, or really that I think that this can be fulfilled. Like
Yes.
I want this to be fulfilled. And that capital L longing, what I was taking out of what she was saying is that kind of comes about when you have an awareness of moreness, when you have glimpsed the perfection of now, when you've had moments where you've seen the perfection of now. That capital L longing is sort of like a reminder for you to keep orienting to that, to keep looking for it, like keep looking for the perfection of now, keep like remember that that's there and that it can be attained.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
kind of
Yeah. Also, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Also, the part of us that does the longing is a psychology, a mindset, an awareness that is a bubble awareness.
right.
Yeah? Like my sister, the part that was longing was her 3 or 4 year old self, or whatever, her young child self. It's not her current self that had this. So we need to update that psychology so that the longing is more attainable and more realistic. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing that square circle forever. Yes. And
Exactly.
and look at this too. So yes, we can long for heaven, but heaven is a sanitized perfection
Right,
that deprives you of much moreness.
right.
So because it's sanitized, it's limited. For instance, look at your experience with Gertie.
Mhm.
That would not exist in heaven.
Right,
You would not have had that experience. You would have been deprived of the beauty of service and duty and the cycle of life and caring and awesomeness and shifting awareness. I mean, to me, I think the gift for Gertie is unbelievable, like I shared with you. Her whole entire way of being was transformed to say, I've been actually wrong in everything that I thought. I was anti-humans. I was scared of them. I was afraid. And now I realized, whoa, wait a second. They're actually awesome. They really care for me. They really love me. They're going out of their way. It's like, what a gift, right? A gift of awareness. So who knows what happens to Gertie in the next loop around. To me, it's, boy, she's playing snakes and ladders and went up the tallest ladder right there on the game, right? At least in my conceptuality. Now, whether this is actually so or not, it doesn't matter. I really feel it very strongly that there was a shift in Gertie. Whether it makes any difference outside of her life, at least for that end part of her life, she lived in a state of being, even though she may have physically not been comfortable, psychologically and emotionally, I bet you it's the best time of her life ever.
right, right.
So, when we think of this now, it's like, wow, look at all the moreness, the beauty, the awesome, the magnificence that's come just from that. But that would have been denied you in heaven. Yes.
Right.
So
Well,
perspective shifting
would
is
have
so
been
critical.
in the bubble version of heaven. Yeah, this.
Yeah, exactly. Now, of course, the real world version of heaven, it's not. That's my point, right? So that's why I use the word heaven rather than nobilia. Nobilia is a version where all effort has been made to not sanitize, but also to have the ideal as close as you can come. For instance, all the unpleasant tasks or jobs are done by robots. So you need technology, you need wealth for this, which is the whole, Council of the Gods story that Jesus and Mercury thought things through to the end. And they said, well, we need wealth, and this is it. So in order to get this stuff. So yes, you have this because otherwise you got to rely on magic, which, okay, maybe in heaven, you got magical dishwashers, fine. All right. You don't eat food. So I don't know. I don't know how it works, but in a real world situation, when we want that ideal, you can get really close to it or have it where it's, and you don't mind whatever you do, you don't care because you've developed your psychology that, like for instance, some of the new nobles have restaurants because they love doing this. This is their passion. And they don't mind cleaning up after. It's part of their service to serve. It's a joy. So when they wash the dishes, they might even not choose to have the dishwasher do it. They may even do it by hand because it gives them joy to do. It's part of the service. So whatever they do in this part of the service gives them a tremendous joy. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So it's all in the perspective shifting, the attitude shifting, the awareness shifting. And that's how we can get to the longing. Not to actually go somewhere, but to shift our perception of what is. So we change and thereby change what we have, right? So it's us that is heaven. Heaven is inside us and it's materialized externally, but it's all inside our attitudes and mindset. And this is exactly what a Way of Impeccability and Mona's project is all about, to give us the tools for personal change, to enable us to actually live in heaven now. Yes?
Right.
Yeah. So we don't have that longing. And that's what I was saying to Beena. The question was, what do you long for, whatever, get in touch with your deepest longing or something like that. I forget the exact words. My brain doesn't want to remember those words, Beena. And I said, I don't have longing and I don't want to have longing.
Yeah.
Because it's saying something is out there, it's unattainable. And, it's this ideal that I'm chasing. No, I want to unhook from that and enjoy what I have to the fullest. I don't want to be longing for anything. It's something I've made an effort to eliminate out of my life, this idea of longing, because it leads you into like a false trap, as it were.
Right.
We can get hooked onto enjoying the longing, and you just keep on pushing the destination further away all the time, and you never ever get it.
Right.
Yeah. So we have to be very careful about longing. It's a dangerous psychology in my view.
Well, and that's, like I said, that's, for me, there's a really clear distinction between little L longing and big L longing. They're two very different things. And I definitely see a purpose and an appropriateness in my experience with what I'm understanding as capital L longing. Little L longing, I think,
Yes.
it's really easy to confuse the two, or to misunderstand capital L longing and make it into little L because you're trying to satisfy what's happening with things that are happening at the human level rather than at the moreness level, to really place it in the appropriate level.
Absolutely. For me, longing, capital L longing, is love of moreness.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
With that, that love of moreness, in longing, it has that little bit of energizing pull that keeps pulling us into the moreness. So the longing in the capital L sense, as in love of moreness, I can love moreness but not do anything to actually move towards moreness.
Right.
So longing is that energizing, motivating factor that pulls me there. But this is what I'm trying to say, though. You have to sort of deliberately do this and add it to longing. It's not inherent in the concept of longing itself.
Right.
So I rather think of just moreness and this journey, that I'm on a perpetual journey into moreness. And my motivation is always there. Moreness is self-motivating to pull me. I don't need to have that extra in it. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying, moreness, I don't want to be longing for moreness, because longing has a negative connotation to it. I am in moreness and I'm also moving towards moreness, both at the same time. So it's a subtle nuance, but it's a big deal nuance for me. But yeah, I mean, she's saying the same thing in a different way. I just don't care for the term, because that term can it can have a bittersweetness to it, which to me, I'm an idealist. I try to avoid the bittersweet and just focus on the sweet.
Well, that's the really fascinating part of this book to me, is that she is taking the concept of bittersweet and reframing it.
Yeah.
Say, this is presented in a negative context, but if we look at it from a different perspective, it's not negative at all.
I agree. It's what I do with moreness, exactly. But she's just saying, yeah, right. And I like what she's doing. Because, okay, take it as a starting point. Yes, it's powerful to reframe it and but to me, I like to go towards the end and say, can I let go of that part already? Have I moved on past that longing? And so I try very hard to move past where I don't need to transform longing into something else.
Right. Right.
In other words, yes, it's important to be aware of it and leverage it into moreness as an evolutionary tool for your psychology evolution, yes, and your emotional evolution. But once we understand that we can do this, then I can let it go.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm trying to say. Is that yes, it's powerful as a tool to get you somewhere, but it's not something to hold on to forever. Yes.
Right.
All right. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. I will probably add something about longing to the origin chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an important part there that's implied, and I'll have to read it again. Actually, it came up yesterday with Cheryl, and sure, it's been come up a little bit in the last couple of weeks to reread it in specifically. So maybe tomorrow morning. I'll message you if we're going to read it with Sher and Cheryl.
Okay.
Do a capital R reading of it, because there's so much in that as we see now. It's a big story. It's a big story. The main thing is to change our perspective on people itself. Um, so somebody was saying about people in their lives, like seriously, like their partner or whoever is like a big jackass. And I said, can you imagine leaving heaven to come down to earth to be a jackass because it's necessary for the evolution, the awareness, the testing, the spiritual benefit of somebody?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
said, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. If I have the internal fortitude to do this.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. But boy, what an act of service.
Mm-hmm.
So now when you look at people as angels, coming to heaven and being a jackass on purpose,
Right.
it's like, holy moly, this changes everything, no?
Absolutely.
And in the magic of everything, where possibilities, how do we know every single other being isn't an angel for our benefit?
Right.
You're in a special instance, like in a game, and everything is there geared just towards you, which happens in games, right? You get into an instance, it's all about you. Everything revolves around you. There's no reason why this couldn't be the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually not a multiplayer game. It's actually a single player game.
Right.
Yeah, the AI is exceedingly sophisticated.
Yeah.
I love also, by the way, how you came to an awareness and a connectivity to the perfection of now.
Mm-hmm.
I love this because it's the same thing how it happened. I didn't start off and say, okay, book one is called this, book two is called this, right? So I wrote book one, and then just more stuff kept on coming and conversations and all stuff, right? So I just kept putting it into the file. And part of the conversation, I realized that what Biala was sharing and talking about was the perfection of now. She was
Yeah.
just sharing and communicating, and that's where the name came. It emerged organically from the material. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Exciting stuff. That when we realize it is in that perfection of now, and I have to go over that again to see. I don't remember how that came about. So see if I can find it.
Yeah.
All right. So what else? I thought there was more stuff. Maybe I don't want to neglect anything.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure there is. I have to look back through my notes and see what I'm forgetting. Let's see. Wrong thing. I left a note, I thought, for myself in the hearing and helping notes. Oh, no, that was an old one. don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I was looking for. I don't think this is where it first comes. Boils up from below. So I was just searching for perfection of now in the big file of perfection of now. A lot of it still needs to be edited and sorted. It's just um, stuff. Anyway, but so this came up. So I thought, all right, well, this is quite interesting. So hold on a second. I'll screen share in a moment. You were going to say, Erica?
Oh no, I was just looking through my notes to see what I had
Oh,
left for myself. And
okay. So all right, let me screen share and read this because I just started reading it. I don't know where it's going, but as I thought, whoa, that surprised me a little bit. I was like, all righty then, this is pretty cool. So I like being surprised, especially by myself. Okay, now this is Biela speaking. At least I'm pretty sure it is. It feels like Biela. And this brings me to what is pressing me. It is not enough to understand the concept of the perfection of now. It is not enough to be fully aware of the perfection of now. It is not enough to know it and to believe it and to be cognizant of it. Holy moly, Biela, what the hell? Right? It's like, huh? No, what is needed is more than that. There is always more. And what is that more of knowing about the perfection of now? What is more than understanding the perfection of now? What is needed beyond understanding, beyond awareness, beyond cognizance is experiencing the perfection of now. Ah, I see now where Biela's going, right? It's amazing. I didn't know where she was going until, oh, yes, well, duh, right? We have to go beyond knowing about it, past understanding and perceiving it, to feeling the perfection of now. When we feel that perfection, when we actually experience it directly, then the world will truly make sense. And then only, when we are able to feel the perfection of now, then and then only will we be able to truly experience the perfection of now. And then it will be perfect in the now. It will be perfect now, not some other time, not at some point to be determined, not in the past, but now. For our feelings and moods and all that flows from them are always only experienced in the now. We cannot feel the future or in the past. We can only feel in the now. And thus, the perfection of now has to culminate in us experiencing the now as perfect. We have to come to the point of understanding that allows us to see how that perfection comes about, how it translates into the now, and how, even if we had the power to change anything at all, we would not, because it all has to stay the way it is in the now, or at least for now. Okay, so I'm going to add that in there now while I'm about it here. There's going to be change. We're not looking to have things stay the same, but
right.
in that immediate moment, you are accepting the change in that moment isn't necessary.
Right.
The next moment we're going to experience again, and changes occurred between the one moment and the next, right? Anyway, that's pretty potent stuff there. Yeah,
It is.
well, to me, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that I'm assuming is articulating what you were saying also, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a big part of what jumped out at me was to not just understand that the now, to not just understand the perfection of the now, but to really have that be a thing, to not just know it, but to have it be fully integrated and experience it. Because if you just know it, but you can't experience it, what good is it doing for you?
Wow. Bella goes on over here. Oh, it goes, it's a whole long thing. There's a lot to this. All right, anyway. Uh, I remember when writing this, how I was a bit overwhelmed at the mourners that came at the time. That flood of it coming. I was like, oh, wow, cool. Because, already what said there is really profound. And I think when I go back to it, when I actually do it and edit it, I'm going to cut the scene there after where I left it. Biella sharing it as one long conversation, but have some side thing, talk about anything else and then come back to it, and then just continue, because it's too much. It's too much for it all together. A lot in there. It's a lot in there. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I love this idea, though, of the perfection of now. It's definitely a different mindset. And that's part of what we were saying about listening with the repeat backs. If you're in the now, it doesn't make any difference because you have no connectivity to the past. So whatever you say is always fresh. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a very, 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 very big deal. Very big deal. Beena, any comments, any perspectives, any shares?
I was just listening to that, and this idea of perfection of now. This is actually like the whole. If you funnel down the whole way of impeccability, and then you see that, like, okay, yes, this is the perfection of now, because it contains everything into that. It is always like, okay, attunement, trust, everything is coming into that.
Right.
And this is so brilliant. What you were saying about longing, sir, I understand that why it is a bit problematic. Okay, I'm using this word here because it's a present continuous. Like, okay, first it's longing, and then it's like we are saying that it is going to continue, which is like, no, we don't want that, anything which is unresolved and like keep going on and on, and which is negative. But also that I understand what's the point, what Erika was mentioning, that it's a capital L longing and a small l longing, which is, yes, because we as a human, we do have, maybe because of some stories we it but like really instilled in us, that from religion, from history, that, oh, we were something and then now we are as a consequence we are here. So
Right.
this longing for something which is not defined, not known to us, but there is a constant thing that, yes, there is something where we actually originally belonged to, and now we are not there. So this thing with unknown belonging or longing for, could be that influence also, which is really interesting because we don't know what we are longing for. But we have this thing, everyone has, like all the cultures, almost everyone, at least what I know. So this is very interesting. The other thing about the exercise, what Sil was mentioning, it was like your deepest longing for truth.
Mm.
That
And
was
I've to both of them.
yes, yes, I understand that. And he was refusing that. Oh, I don't like this idea even. So, but this was that your deepest longing for truth.
Yeah.
So we will
Or
see.
truth.
We will see
The deepest
where we
longing
will go.
deepest longing for truth, or truth, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, we will see that, and we will go and realize.
Because they
Okay.
variables change all the time.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
idea of a deepest longing, what I objected to is that they are normalizing it
Yes.
as a fundamental condition of just a human being, of being a human. And that I find a bit problematic.
Yes. Okay, I have to go now. But Erika, that was really, really an awesome session today, and I just love this. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Love your painting. Please keep doing this.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes.
And it is. I don't like this word when people say that. Okay, that even Sylvan say, whenever he say that, I said, no, Sil, it's not like that. That, oh, you, I don't know what's going on. You were aware. You might not have it in front of your consciousness, but you were aware of that idea.
Right.
And that painting is something, or any poetic medium or any other medium of art, is just to let it come out. So you were aware. Don't say that you were not aware. It
Right.
was there. Yes, I love this. Thanks for sharing, and bye for now.
Thanks for being here.
Yes. Okay, so
Sorry,
bye for now.
my laptop has decided to be noisy and it's so slow. I can't get it to be softer here now. I don't know if you can hear it or not. I hope not.
Okay, so bye for now.
Yeah. All right, Beena. All right, Beena. Okay. See you soon. What's the noise? What's the noise? Okay, stop it now.
That was something else. Yeah, I can hear it if that's what it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to, and no matter what I do, nothing happens. Just get stuck in the noise. There we go. There we are. All right. I love this though. It's very cool. So what I really enjoy is, again, coexisting contradiction again, and counterbalancing conundrum. And what's the other one? I always forget your other one that you say. There's three of them.
Well, you had um coexisting conundrum, and I don't remember the other one.
No, I coexisting contradiction.
Okay, well, coexisting contradiction and the conundrum, and my term was collaborative counterbalance.
Collaborative counterbalance. Yes. So it's coexisting conundrum and coexisting counterbalance. Collaborative counterbalance. Yes.
Yeah.
Collaborative counterbalance, coexisting conundrum, and coexisting contradiction.
That was it. Contradiction. Yeah.
So the two coexistings, in other words.
Right.
This to me is one of the most critical understandings for the language of conceptuality. Yes. Like look at longing now. In one sense it's like, no, it's not cool. In another sense it's very cool. And this is absolutely important. We tend to fall into this monistic, I don't know if that's the word to say, because it's not monastic, but it's monistic. What's the, not dualistic, the version for singular? Yeah, I mean there must be a mono, as in single, or but in this one idea concept, we get caught up in it, and this is no good at all. Things, we tend to think that something exists when it's a something. It has an integrity, but in terms of conceptuality, they don't exist independently. They are all connected and interconnected with each other. Yes, and in some way they're all the same thing in the end. They're all just one concept, really. They just get split apart somewhat, and that's really, really, really potent to understand. And this is, silent knowledge is when it all comes into one, and you always connect to all of it every time in detail. That's it. You don't need any more. So, like I said before, we don't need to know all the details in terms of data. If you have things appropriately categorized, you can know what's on your hard drive.
Yeah.
I have the list of contents memorized, the categories, the titles. I know what's in it. I don't need to know the data points. And this is very, very, very important, I think, from a point of view of silent knowledge too, that you have the gateways, the pathways that take you from the apex of where you're at, of the pyramid, which is silent knowledge. You go into your concepts, the major concepts, sub-concepts, and eventually you get to where you're close to the detail. And by that point, the detail becomes obvious. It can be constructed in the moment because it's duh, right? And this is part of innovation, in that when I was talking about the idea, the packaging, shipping ideas about the tubing and all that last time, right? To me, this is not really invention. It's just reverse engineering or extrapolation. It's just durness. There's no invention to me. I'm simply just extrapolating, putting it together, and then you just go all the way to the end. It's like duh. So I think a lot of that is when you have the overall conceptuality and the intent combined with that, the actual mechanism for doing it is very duh. It's very duh. You don't even have to download it from Monas. You actually just, you basically construct the newness.
Yeah.
You construct the newness. It's very cool. I was thinking of that because when I was listening to the video, just one of the other ideas, just a big deal idea was, in terms of extrapolation, it's coming to mind. When I went to university at that time, I mean, Americans complain about high gas prices. Sorry, Americans, you have no freaking clue about high gas prices. I mean, not even close. I mean, the equivalent would probably have, I think I worked it out, was something like $20 a gallon, I think.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh,
word.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just absurd. So, so going to university, it wasn't close by. It's like a 20-minute, half an hour drive, maybe. A really beautiful drive too. Anyway, um, so I gave some of my friends a ride to it, that or people that I knew, and they would chip in for the gas money because I couldn't afford to not give it to them. And I had an old VW bus. We called them combis.
Nice.
So, so driving down the main road, I drove past the bus stops and I saw people stopping there. I said, wow, I could easily stop there. At that time, it would have been probably illegal for me to do this. Um, and then later on, this became a thing in South Africa. They had the Toyota vans and they would pack 14, 16 people in them because Toyota made an extended cab one. And you go to the city center and you literally see a couple of miles long, leading out from the main roads of all these minibuses standing there waiting for rush hour, right? And they would do that. They would drive. You stand at the bus stop, and when they stop, pick you up, and off they go. And it was, basically they called them taxis, but they were just straight line taxis.
Right.
Boy, when I got to America, and especially in LA, which is a very spread out long city, I thought, holy, even today still, this is something that could easily be done there, and I really took this from an extrapolation point, and you say, okay, now let's get a bit realistic, and you make the electric motors, and I know I've got a long story on that, but yeah, it's just extrapolation. If you take it all the way to the end and you do it at scale, it becomes a totally different thing,
Yeah.
I actually thought of talk about invention, but it's something I saw in Enid Blyton, which later on translated into an idea. Just reverse engineering to make a mechanical drive, like a big spring, like a clockwork car, in other words.
Yeah.
And if you do it with what is that very springy thing? The material they use, like in a bow, like in an archery bow, carbon fiber, right? It's extremely elastic and springing, and you can really make it with high, but it's very lightweight. So if you make this to be your spring, and now you make a very lightweight carbon fiber vehicle with like bicycle wheels, yes,
Right.
and the idea being that you don't have to drag the engine around. It's heavy, and a lot of your power goes to dragging the engine. And even with electric, the batteries are heavy. With this thing, it's very light. And now, okay, you might not have as much range, but if you have your wind-up station, right, and it's just a lever that comes into the middle of the thing, and it can wind it very, very fast. You stop, and it's like 5-10 seconds, zoop, your thing is wound up. Like when they do the Formula One, when they change the tires, right? Same logic, right? You can have that thing wound in a matter of seconds. So when you're stopping at a traffic light or whatever, you just pull off the road, you stop, and it comes automatically, and the charges, off you go again. So I thought, wow, this is a really cool idea in terms of taking this whole thing for the same way. You now use this because instead of an electric motor, your motor's external, which makes it lighter. Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's all flat, so you don't need a lot of power. You don't have to go particularly fast either. So, but I liked in that concept, just by way of just sort of nice idea. You want it to be cheap, like really, really cheap. Like, okay, $1 and you can go as long as you want. But even $1 one way and $1 back, if you're going to travel every day, that's $60 a month. Okay, not everybody works every day, but even on the weekends, you might want to go out and something. So it's still $2 a day, which is $60 a month, which is kind of a lot. But if you made it a quarter, that would be really phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be awesome. But now, okay, you don't want it to be free, but you could even make it free. And I thought, well, how would you make this where you can make it economically viable and be able to subsidize the cost? And I said, okay, well, you can put advertising on the outside. All right, each van is, okay, that'll pay for a lot. But to me, the brainwave was to say, when people are inside, you run your own radio station inside all of these vans. And the advertising in the radio station, because you got a captive audience. People are sitting there for whatever, 5-10 minutes, and all they can do is listen to the radio. those ads are going to be phenomenally valuable. And, you have a NPR type general news and sports and stuff like this, kind of what's happening stuff. So it's valuable to the passengers, and it's not particularly political, but the ads, this is, you're going to, I mean, how many people in a city like LA are commuting every single day?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using this, or in a place like LA, in New York, especially too, I mean, you're going to have a couple of million people go through your vehicles every day.
Yeah.
Which radio station has a million views? None. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Even TV now this is incredible power. So, especially if you do it nationwide, I mean, you're gonna, well, in a city, you're gonna absolutely, the income from that, I believe, will totally be able to subsidize it. No? Anyway, so I don't know, it came up to me when I was thinking, it's just a fun idea, but it requires, and then of course, when you're doing it on such scale, I know you got to go on such scale. You can get those vehicles custom made for you, even if it's an electric vehicle or whatever. You have them, because you're going to have thousands of these. You can afford a production run. So you can go to a major manufacturers and say, look, this is what I want. And it can be produced at scale to bring the cost down. Yeah. Custom vehicle. And of course you sell coffee and stuff inside, and snacks and newspapers and whatever, to further subsidize the income.
Right.
Yeah. You got to have a doorman. This was really interesting. I saw this in South Africa. If you don't have somebody working the door, the passengers will break your door. Those sliding doors, they break them before long, inevitably. So you have to have somebody who operates the door. So I thought, here's another thing, this, like the people who work at the cash, the counters, the packers, the baggers in supermarkets. I don't know what they call this. I don't know what the politically correct term is now, but that's, people who are otherwise not easily employable.
Right.
Can be your door operator. Let's put it that way. It's a simple, and work the coffee machine, or take your money for the snacks. Have an all vending machine inside them. Not do anything, but still you can employ them. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Just thought extrapolation. When you take this all the way to the end, and then if you take this now in America, it's particularly geared to this because of the cities are all grid based. Not all cities are like that. This is, and you have, you go, I guess horizontal, vertical, and but two ways you can get anywhere, right? So that's it, for very cheap you can go anywhere, and you always got it. And I thought too, you have, especially now, back then it would have been with walkie-talkies I added, but that your doorman, if they see somebody and you drive past and it's full, you put it into the computer, and the computer lets the nearest empty guy know to say, hey, you know what, go over here, or maybe jump across the street. Your one is, so you always have optimized passenger efficiency. Yes. So people don't wait very long, because you're driving past them all the time. If you see them, that's it. You let them know.
Right.
Or if you're going and you're driving empty, you'll put it into say, hey, it's all empty here. Where do I need to go? And then it'll push you where you need to go. So what a system, right?
Yeah.
Optimized passenger efficiency. Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
Minimum wait time. Anyway, I'm bringing it up as a point about thinking things through to the end, and thinking thoroughly, and being able to do things properly. This is why I like Vegas. Why Vegas is the one place in the world where you see fantastical ideas truly done with no inhibition with money, or at least seemingly so. You've been to Vegas, yes? You have?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like Treasure Island, the casino, with the outside performance. So it's only in Vegas where this is economically feasible at that scale, to have a full-on, theatrical production running every hour or whatever it is. Just incredible. Anyway, it's fun. It's fun thinking that way, and it's part of the exercise of the art. So I'm going a long way around to get to this learning to think differently. It's a very powerful exercise. So brilliant. I love it, Erica. I love it. Again, we didn't continue with hearing, but we'll get there.
Yes.
I love it. There's so much going on. It's really potent. And the repeat backs and the takeaways, by the way, inadvertent learning, right? It's part of the intent of those. is through simply talking about stuff week in, week out, that you learn to express yourself and articulate, because we aren't just talking about simple stuff. We are talking about things that are in depth, and you are repeating back stuff that's already in depth, and that's already takes discernment and articulation. So you're doing it. You are practicing articulation and expressing yourself. And this is one of the inadvertent that's not directly focused on benefits of what we do. And it's profound. It's profound. It changes the entire way the brain is shaped and the way we articulate, connect, see, perceive, like you now. Anything you do, you're pulling moreness from it. You don't even have to insist on extracting it. It's coming to you automatically. Right? I mean, look, there's that session on insisting on extracting the more. That's us doing it deliberately. But after a while, it becomes automatic, and you don't have to reach out for it. It comes at you. You almost have to sort of fend it off a little bit. Yeah. So much comes, so much. All right, you gotta go. All right, sorry, it's over. So
It's
really,
all good.
yes, it is. All right, I love that painting. I really love that painting. My criteria for paintings is, would I put it up on my wall?
Right.
And yes, I would put that up on my wall. Lots of art out there. Mona Lisa, no. You will put it on your wall, but I will not. I was thinking about that because it was always my classic example. But after you went through your Louvre experience and all, I said, well, maybe I'll change my mind. I might put that up there. And truly, you changed my perspective a little bit on that. But yours would certainly go up on my wall. Absolutely. Very cool.
Very much.
Yeah, there's no flaw in that. I'll point it out to you next time. I will say I love some paintings, but I'll point out to you things that are off in it. From a discerning point of view. I don't like to do this, but it's useful to know from an artist point of view. Yes. So now, by the way, you can on Facebook go and change your name to say Erica Jayne -artist.
I like it.
But I mean, it's important though. To think of ourselves as artists is a very big shift in conceptuality. Doesn't mean that you're doing art day in and day out, but that is a demonstration that you are an artist. Do you choose to do art? No, doesn't make you any less of an artist. Yes, but it's important in your mind to update this in terms of your self-conception. Yes,
I agree. Yeah.
So we are life artists and spirit artists, but also you are a literal artist as well. Yes.
Right.
It's important. It's very, 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 very important to have that added to your mindset. Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Awesome, Erica. Awesome. I love it. I look forward to Thursday. Can't wait. I'll let you know tomorrow if we do this. If you can. If you can't, that's fine.
Okay. That sounds good.
It would be cool for all of us to do it together.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant. All right. Bye. Yes. Bye, Erica. Bye. Where's my